Admiral Lee Tae-ho stood on the bridge of the command station orbiting Earth and watched the stars with tired eyes. He had seen many battles in his 50 years of life, but nothing had prepared him for what was coming. The message from deep space had arrived 3 days ago, and it still made his blood run cold every time he thought about it. Dr. Kim Min-ho walked up to him holding a datapad with shaking hands. The young scientist had been working without sleep since the alien transmission arrived, and it showed on his pale face. His black hair was messy and his uniform was wrinkled, but his eyes were sharp with focus. "Admiral, the translation is complete," Kim Min-ho said in a quiet voice. "I have checked it 5 times, and I am certain about what they are saying." Lee Tae-ho took the datapad and read the words that would change everything for humanity. The message was clear and simple in its cruelty. The aliens called themselves the Veltari Empire, and they had one demand for Earth. Humanity must surrender all colonies and submit to their rule, or they would destroy every human world. "How long do we have?" Lee Tae-ho asked without looking up from the pad. 30 standard days from when they sent the message," Kim Min-ho replied. "That gives us 27 days before they expect our answer." The Admiral handed back the pad and turned to face the communication station where Lieutenant Commander Choi Hye-jin was waiting. She was a small woman with quick movements and sharp intelligence that had made her the best intelligence officer in the Terran Defense Coalition. Her job was to know everything about humanity's enemies before they became threats. "What do we know about them?" Lee Tae-ho asked her. Choi Hye-jin activated a holographic display that showed the known galaxy with red markers scattered across it like drops of blood. "The Veltari Empire controls 847 worlds according to our deep space sensors. They are a coalition of 12 different alien species that work together to conquer other civilizations." She pointed to different areas of the map as she spoke. "They prefer to absorb new species into their empire rather than destroy them completely. Most worlds surrender without fighting because the Veltari fleets are so large that resistance seems impossible." "What about their technology?" the Admiral asked. "Organic-based ships and weapons," Choi Hye-jin said as the display changed to show images of strange curved vessels that looked more grown than built. "Their ships are alive in some way and can repair themselves during battle. They use plasma weapons that can dissolve most known materials, and their ships can adapt to different types of attacks." Lee Tae-ho studied the alien ships on the display and felt a cold smile form on his face. The Veltari had made one critical mistake in their message. They had told humanity exactly what kind of enemy they were facing and given them time to prepare. "Send a message to all fleet commanders," the Admiral ordered. "Full mobilization of all defense forces. I want every ship in the coalition ready for battle within 72 hours. Captain Park Soo-jin entered the bridge at that moment carrying her helmet under one arm. She was the youngest captain in the fleet, but had earned her position through brilliant tactical thinking and absolute courage in combat. Her ship, the Indomitable, was the most advanced warship humanity had ever built, and she knew every bolt and wire in its hull. "Admiral, the fleet is already moving," Park Soo-jin reported. "All captains received preliminary orders an hour ago and are making ready for departure. The Indomitable will be ready to leave port in 6 hours." "Good," Lee Tae-ho said. "But before we show them our ships, I want to send the aliens a message of our own." He walked to the main communication station and activated the recording system. The red light came on, and he knew that his words would soon travel across space. To reach the Veltari Empire. What he said next would either prevent a war or make it inevitable. "This is Admiral Lee Tae-ho of the Terran Defense Coalition speaking for all humanity," he began in a steady voice that carried the weight of his authority. "We have received your ultimatum, and we reject it completely." He paused for a moment to let those words sink in before continuing. "You demand that we surrender our worlds and our freedom without even knowing who we are or what we are capable of. That was your first mistake." Kim Min-ho watched from his station as the Admiral's voice grew harder with each word. The scientist had studied many alien languages, but he had never heard anything as cold and final as the tone Lee Tae-ho was using now. "Let me tell you what you are facing," the Admiral continued. "Humanity has spent 300 years preparing for war among the stars. We have built ships designed for one purpose, which is to destroy our enemies completely. We have trained Soldiers who know that retreat is not an option, and victory is the only acceptable outcome. Choi Hye-jin felt a chill run down her spine as she listened. She had seen the Admiral's service record and knew about the battles he had fought on Mars and Europa, but this was different. This was Lee Tae-ho speaking not just as a military commander, but as the voice of an entire species that had been threatened. "Our ships are not built to capture or subdue," Lee Tae-ho said, as his eyes grew distant with memory. "They are built to kill. Our weapons are not designed to disable enemy vessels. They are designed to turn them into debris. Our crews do not fight for glory or conquest. They fight because you have threatened their families and their worlds." Park Soo-jin gripped her helmet tighter as she realized what the Admiral was really saying. Humanity had always known this day might come, and they had prepared for it in ways the aliens could not imagine. Every human warship was a weapon designed by a species that had learned to kill efficiently through thousands of years of warfare on their home planet. "You have 30 days to reconsider your ultimatum," the Admiral said as he leaned closer to the recording device. "Use that time wisely, because once our fleets are deployed, there will be no negotiation and no mercy. This is not a bluff or an empty threat. This is a promise from a species that has never lost a war we were determined to win." He straightened up and his voice became formal again as he delivered the final warning. "Turn your ships around and leave our space. Find other worlds to conquer that will not fight back. Because if you continue on your current course, you will discover why every species in human space learned to fear us long before we ever reached the stars." The recording ended, and the bridge fell silent, except for the quiet hum of computers and life support systems. Everyone present knew they had just witnessed history being made. Humanity had drawn a line in space and dared the aliens to cross it. "Send that message on all frequencies," Lee Tae-ho ordered. "Make sure every Veltari ship receives it clearly." "Yes, sir," the communication officer replied, and began transmitting the warning across the galaxy. Dr. Kim Min-ho looked at the Admiral with new respect in his eyes. "Do you think they will listen?" Lee Tae-ho walked back to the main display and looked at the red markers showing Veltari-controlled space. "No," he said simply. "They have conquered too many worlds and grown too confident in their power. They will see our warning as the desperate bluff of a primitive species. Then we go to war," Park Soo-jin said quietly. "Yes," the Admiral replied. "And when it begins, they will learn what humanity has always known. Sometimes the only way to have peace is to be so good at war that no one dares to fight you." The transmission raced through space carrying humanity's warning to the Veltari Empire, but Lee Tae-ho already knew it would be ignored. The aliens had made their choice when they sent their ultimatum, and now humanity would show them the price of threatening. A species that had turned warfare into an art form. In 27 days, the real test would begin. Commander Yoon Jae-wook stood in the observation deck of his scout ship and watched the edge of the solar system through the reinforced viewing port. His ship, the Swift Arrow, was one of 12 vessels stationed at the outer boundary of human space, and their job was simple: be the first to see the enemy coming and live long enough to report it. The 30 days had passed without any response from the Veltari Empire to humanity's warning message. Admiral Lee Tae-ho had expected this outcome, but it still felt like a weight in Yoon Jae-wook's stomach as he watched the empty space between stars. Somewhere out there, an alien fleet was coming to destroy everything he had ever known. "Commander, we have multiple contacts on long-range sensors," called out Ensign No Ga-yoon from her station. Her voice was steady, but Yoon Jae-wook could hear the tension underneath. They had all been waiting for this moment, and now it was finally here. "How many ships?" Yoon Jae-wook asked as he moved to the sensor station to look at the readings himself. 200 contacts, sir," No Ga-yoon replied while adjusting the controls to get a clearer picture. "They are very large, sir. Each one reads as approximately 15 kilometers in length." Yoon Jae-wook felt his breath catch in his throat. The largest human warship was only 3 kilometers long, and these alien vessels were 5 times that size. The enemy had brought enough firepower to glass entire planets, and they were heading straight for Earth. "Send the alert to Fleet Command immediately," he ordered. "All defense forces are to assume battle positions according to Plan Delta 7. The message raced through space using quantum communication arrays that could send information faster than light itself. Within minutes, every human ship in the solar system received the warning and began moving to their assigned positions. The real war was about to begin. Captain Park Soo-jin felt the deck of the Indomitable vibrate beneath her feet as the massive ship's engines came to full power. Around her, the bridge crew worked with practiced efficiency to prepare their vessel for combat. She had drilled them countless times for this moment, and now all their training would be put to the ultimate test. "All weapon systems online and ready," reported Weapons Officer Lee Sang-ho. "Railgun batteries loaded with penetrator rounds, missile tubes loaded with nuclear warheads, point defense systems active and tracking. Engineering reports all systems." "Nominal," called out Chief Engineer Bae So-young from her station. "Reactor output at maximum sustainable levels, armor plating charged and ready to absorb incoming fire." Park Soo-jin nodded and looked at the tactical display showing the positions of all human ships in the system. 150 vessels, arranged in a complex formation that had been planned by the best military minds humanity could produce. Each ship knew exactly where to be and what to do when the aliens arrived. "This is Admiral Lee Tae-ho to all ships," came the voice over the communication system. "The enemy fleet has been detected at the edge of our system. They will reach our defensive line in approximately 6 hours. Remember your training and trust in your shipmates. Today we show the galaxy what happens when someone threatens humanity." The alien fleet moved through space like a school of massive fish swimming through an ocean of stars. Each Veltari ship was a work of organic art with curved surfaces that pulsed with internal light. They had been grown rather than built using biotechnology that was millions of years old and refined through the conquest of hundreds of worlds. High, Commander Vorth stood in the neural center of the lead vessel and felt the ship's living systems respond to his thoughts. The creature that served as his ship was eager for battle, and he could sense its hunger for the destruction they would soon bring to the primitive humans who had dared to reject their ultimatum. "Status of the human defensive fleet," Vorth commanded, through the neural link that connected him to his ship's sensory organs. 150 vessels detected in defensive formation around the third planet, responded the ship's consciousness directly into his mind. "Ships appear to be metallic construction with kinetic weapons systems. No evidence of advanced energy weapons or organic technology." Vorth felt amusement ripple through his thoughts. These humans were even more primitive than his initial intelligence, reports had suggested. They were still using crude metal ships and simple kinetic weapons, while the Veltari Empire fought with living vessels that could adapt and evolve during combat. "Signal all ships to assume attack formation," Vorth ordered. "We will demonstrate to these primitives why 847 worlds have surrendered to our might." The human defensive line waited in perfect silence as the alien fleet approached. Each ship maintained radio silence and showed only passive sensors to avoid giving away their true capabilities. To the Veltari forces, they would appear to be a desperate attempt by a backward species to defend their homeworld with inferior technology. Colonel Nam Dong-sik stood in the assault bay of the heavy cruiser Retribution and checked his equipment one final time. His Marine battalion was armed and ready for boarding actions against the alien vessels once the main battle began. Each soldier wore powered armor and carried weapons designed specifically for fighting in the confined spaces of enemy ships. "Remember what we learned in training," Nam Dong-sik addressed his troops over the comm system. "These alien ships are alive, so treat them like living targets. Use incendiary rounds to damage their biological systems and explosives to destroy their neural centers. Show no mercy because they certainly will not show any to us." The Marines checked their weapons and prepared for what would likely be the most dangerous mission of their lives. Fighting inside a living ship that could potentially heal itself and fight back was unlike anything humans had ever faced before. But they had trained for exactly this scenario. The Veltari fleet reached the outer edge of the human defensive formation, and Vorth gave the order to attack. 200 bioships opened fire simultaneously with plasma weapons that could dissolve the hull of any normal vessel. Streams of living fire reached across space toward the human fleet, like the tentacles of some cosmic predator. The plasma struck the lead human ships, and everyone on both sides waited to see the result. The aliens expected to see human vessels dissolving under the assault of their most powerful weapons. Instead, they watched in growing confusion as the plasma splashed harmlessly against the metallic hulls like water hitting stone. Impossible, Vorth whispered, as his ship's sensors confirmed what he was seeing. Our plasma should be eating through their armor like acid through paper. Captain Park Soo-jin smiled grimly as she watched the alien weapons prove completely ineffective against her ship's neutronium steel plating. Humanity had spent decades developing armor specifically designed to resist energy weapons, and now that investment was paying off in the most important battle of their species' history. Return fire, she ordered calmly. All railgun batteries. Target the lead alien vessel. Let them see what our primitive weapons can do. The Indomitable shuddered as its main railgun fired a projectile the size of a telephone pole at 15% the speed of light. The metal slug crossed the distance between fleets in less than a second and struck the leading Veltari bioship with the force of a nuclear explosion. The alien vessel's organic hull simply ceased to exist where the projectile hit. A hole 3 meters wide punched completely through the 15-kilometer ship from front to back, and the creature that was the vessel screamed in agony through frequencies that made human sensor equipment shriek in protest. Vorth felt his ship's pain as if it were his own and staggered backward in shock. Nothing in the Veltari Empire's long history of conquest had prepared them for weapons that could inflict such devastating damage with a single shot. These humans were not the primitives they appeared to be. All ships' evasive maneuvers. Vorth commanded as more human railgun rounds began tearing through his fleet. Concentrate fire on their largest vessels and prepare boarding parties for close combat. But the human fleet was already moving with precision that spoke of careful planning and extensive training. Each ship knew exactly where its companions would be, and they coordinated their fire to devastating effect. Alien bioships that had conquered hundreds of worlds began dying under the assault of human weapons designed for one purpose: total destruction of the enemy. The battle that would decide the fate of both species had finally begun, and the Veltari Empire was learning a hard lesson about underestimating humanity's capacity for violence. Major Lee Kyung-soo felt the assault transport shudder as it approached the wounded Veltari bioship. Through the small window, he could see the massive alien vessel leaking some kind of glowing fluid into space, where the human railgun had torn through its hull. The creature was dying, but it was still dangerous, and his job was to make sure it died quickly. 2 minutes to breach, called out the pilot over the comm system. Prepare for hostile environment insertion. Lee Kyung-soo checked his weapon one final time and looked at the 20 Marines under his command. Each soldier wore full environmental armor and carried weapons loaded with incendiary rounds designed to kill living tissue. They had trained for months to fight inside alien bioships, but no amount of training could prepare them for what they were about to face. Remember the mission, Lee Kyung-soo told his troops as the transport approached the breach in the alien hull. Find the neural center and destroy it completely. These ships can heal from almost any damage, but they cannot survive without their brain. Kill the brain, and the ship dies. The transport's cutting lasers began burning through the damaged sections of bioship hull, and Lee Kyung-soo could smell something like burning meat even through his sealed armor. The alien vessel was definitely alive, and it was suffering from the wounds the human fleet had inflicted on it. Captain Han Ji-woo piloted her stealth destroyer Wraith through the chaos of the main battle and searched for targets of opportunity. Her ship was smaller and faster than the main battle cruisers, but it carried experimental weapons that could potentially turn the tide of the entire engagement. Target acquired, reported her weapons officer, Lieutenant Park Hoon-ki. Alien Command, vessel bearing 270 Mark 15, range 4,000 kilometers and closing. Lock on and prepare to fire the prototype weapon, Han Ji-woo ordered. If this works the way the scientists promised, it will be the shortest war in human history. The Wraith's experimental viral torpedo launched from its concealed bay and streaked toward the Veltari command ship. To alien sensors, it would appear to be just another missile, but inside its warhead was something far more dangerous than explosives. Human scientists had developed a digital virus specifically designed to attack and corrupt biological neural networks. High Commander Vorth felt his ship's agony as human weapons continued to tear through his fleet. Half of his vessels were already dead or dying, and the primitive humans showed no signs of slowing their assault. Even worse, his own weapons seemed completely ineffective against their metallic ships. Status report from all fleet elements, Forth demanded through his neural link to the command ship. Severe casualties across all formations, came the reply from his subordinate commanders. Human kinetic weapons are penetrating our bio-armor with ease. Request permission to withdraw to minimum safe distance and reassess tactical situation. Vorth felt anger flow through his thoughts at the suggestion of retreat. The Veltari Empire had never retreated from primitives, and he would not be the first commander to do so. These humans might have better weapons than expected, but they were still vastly outnumbered. Negative on withdrawal, Vorth commanded. All ships prepare for close-range assault. We will board their vessels and take them in hand-to-hand combat where our superior numbers will give us the advantage. But even as he gave the order, Vorth could feel something wrong with his ship's neural systems. Strange signals were running through the biological computers that controlled every aspect of the vessel, and they were spreading like some kind of infection. Lee Kyung-soo and his Marines fought their way through corridors that pulsed with alien life. The bioship's interior was like being inside the digestive system of some massive creature, and every surface was covered with organic growths that tried to impede their progress. Flamethrowers forward, Lee Kyung-soo ordered, as they encountered a section of corridor that was actively trying to close around them. Burn everything that moves. The Marines advanced with jets of superheated plasma that seared the living walls, and filled the air with smoke that smelled like burning flesh. The bioship screamed around them in frequencies that made their armor systems emit warning tones, but they pressed forward toward their objective. Neural center should be directly ahead, reported Sergeant Kim Tae-jin as he consulted the tactical map on his helmet display. Sensors show a large organic mass surrounded by what appear to be defensive systems. They reached a chamber the size of a small building where a massive brain-like structure pulsed with alien thoughts. Tendrils of living metal connected it to every system in the ship, and Lee Kyung-soo could see data flowing through them like blood through veins. This was the heart and mind of the enemy vessel. Plant the charges, Lee Kyung-soo ordered. We have 30 seconds before this thing realizes what we are doing and tries to stop us. Admiral Shin Woo-jin watched the battle from the bridge of his flagship as the Second Fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the combat zone. 200 additional human warships materialized in perfect formation and immediately began adding their firepower to the engagement. Signal from Admiral Lee Tae-ho, reported his communication officer. We are ordered to implement Battle Plan Omega and demonstrate full human capabilities to the alien fleet. Shin Woo-jin smiled as he realized what his orders meant. The first engagement had been humanity holding back to test alien capabilities. Now they would show the Veltari Empire what human warships could really do when they stopped fighting defensively. All ships' weapons free, Shin Woo-jin commanded. Target every alien vessel and fire for maximum destruction. Show them why humans have never lost a war we were determined to win. The human fleet opened fire with everything they had, and space, filled with railgun projectiles moving at incredible speeds. The aliens had thought they were facing the entire human fleet, but now they realized the ships around Earth had just been the advance guard. The real human armada numbered over 500 vessels. Vorth felt his command ship dying around him as the viral infection spread through every biological system. The neural computers that controlled weapons and life support were shutting down, one by one, and there was nothing he could do to stop it. These humans had somehow created a weapon that could kill living ships from the inside. Emergency evacuation of all personnel, Vorth ordered through his failing neural link. Signal all surviving ships to retreat to minimum safe distance immediately. But when he tried to contact his fleet, Vorth discovered that many of his ships were no longer responding. Human boarding parties had somehow reached their neural centers and destroyed them completely. The Veltari Empire was suffering the worst defeat in its long history of conquest. The explosions started deep inside the bioship where Lee Kyung-soo had planted his charges. The alien neural center died in a burst of fire and electricity that sent shockwaves through every living system in the vessel. Without its brain to coordinate repair and defense, the ship began to die rapidly. Extraction point reached, Lee Kyung-soo reported as his Marines reached their pickup zone. Mission accomplished. Target vessel is confirmed dead. Around them, the bioship's corridors were collapsing as the creature that had been their enemy finally stopped fighting. Lee Kyung-soo felt no satisfaction in the victory because he knew this was just the beginning. The aliens had brought 200 ships, and humanity would have to kill every single one of them. Captain Han Ji-woo watched through her sensors as the viral torpedo reached its target and penetrated the alien command ship's hull. Within minutes, the massive bioship began to convulse as the digital virus spread through its neural networks like wildfire. Systems that had functioned for millions of years shut down permanently. Direct hit confirmed, reported Lieutenant Park Hoon-ki. Target vessel is showing complete system failure across all biological networks. The virus is working exactly as designed. Han Ji-woo felt a moment of pride in human ingenuity before focusing on the next target. Her scientists had spent decades developing weapons specifically designed to kill organic technology, and now those weapons were proving their worth in the most important battle humanity had ever fought. The Veltari fleet tried to retreat, but discovered they could not escape. Human ships had been systematically targeting their organic, faster-than-light drives throughout the battle, and most of the alien vessels were now trapped in the solar system. They would have to fight to the death whether they wanted to or not. "Signal to all human forces," came Admiral Lee Tae-ho's voice over the fleet communication system. "The enemy attempted to threaten our worlds and our families. Show them the price of that mistake. No alien ship leaves this system alive." The human fleet pressed their attack with methodical precision that spoke of careful planning and extensive preparation. Every weapon had been designed for this exact type of enemy, and every tactic had been practiced countless times. The aliens were learning too late that humanity had spent centuries preparing for exactly this scenario. High Commander Vorth managed to escape his dying command ship in a small organic pod, but watched helplessly as the human fleet systematically destroyed every vessel under his command. The Veltari Empire had conquered 847 worlds, but they had never faced an enemy like this. Dr. Lim Hae-rin stood in her laboratory deep within the research station orbiting Mars and watched the battle reports coming in from the Sol system with satisfaction. Every weapon her team had designed was performing exactly as intended, and the alien bioships were dying in numbers that exceeded even her most optimistic projections. "Dr. Lim, the aliens are trying to intercept our communication channels," reported her assistant, Dr. Bae Woo-sung, as he monitored the electromagnetic spectrum. "They appear to be studying our tactical transmissions and weapon signatures." Lim Hae-rin smiled at this news because it meant the aliens were about to discover the most terrifying truth about human military technology. Every weapons system in the human fleet had been designed with one specific purpose: killing organic technology like the bioships the Veltari Empire used. "Let them listen," she said, as she activated a secured channel to Admiral Lee Tae-ho. "It is time they understood what they are really facing." The communication reached the Admiral's flagship, where he was coordinating the systematic destruction of the alien fleet. Lee Tae-ho had been waiting for this moment because he wanted the aliens to hear what Dr. Lim Hae-rin was about to tell them about human weapons development. "Dr. Lim, this is Admiral Lee Tae-ho," he said into the communication system. "You have permission to broadcast on all frequencies, including those the aliens are monitoring. Let them hear the truth about why their technology is so ineffective against our ships." Lim Hae-rin began her explanation, knowing that alien intelligence officers were recording every word. "For the past 200 years, humanity has been detecting traces of organic technology in deep space. We found fragments of bioship hulls in asteroid fields and energy signatures that suggested living vessels were operating in our region of the galaxy." She paused to let this information sink in before continuing. Human scientists and military planners made a logical decision based on this evidence. If organic technology was being used by spacefaring civilizations, then humanity needed to develop weapons specifically designed to counter and destroy biological systems. Captain Kang Min-woo commanded the massive dreadnought Inevitable from his position on the bridge, and listened to Dr. Lim's broadcast with grim satisfaction. His ship carried the most advanced anti-biological weapons in the human fleet, and he had been waiting years for the chance to test them in actual combat. "Weapons officer, prepare the viral nanites for deployment," Kang Min-woo ordered. "Target the largest remaining alien vessel and show them what happens when humans design weapons, specifically to kill living ships." The Inevitable's main weapon bay opened to reveal a torpedo unlike anything the Veltari had ever encountered. Inside its warhead were billions of microscopic machines programmed with one directive: find biological neural networks and destroy them at the molecular level. High Commander Vorth drifted in his escape pod and listened to the human transmission with growing horror. These primitives had not just happened to have effective weapons against bioships. They had spent 2 centuries specifically preparing to fight and kill organic technology. Impossible, Vorth whispered to himself. How could they have known we were coming when we only decided to invade their system 30 days ago? But as he listened to more of the human broadcast, Vorth began to understand the terrible scope of his empire's miscalculation. Humanity had not been preparing to fight the Veltari specifically. They had been preparing to fight any species that used living ships and organic weapons. Dr. Lim Hai Rin continued her explanation as human ships pressed their attack on the dying alien fleet. Every human weapons system was designed and tested against biological targets. Our railguns use projectiles that create massive trauma in living tissue. Our armor plating is specifically formulated to resist organic acids and plasma. She activated a holographic display that showed technical specifications for human weapons that made alien observers recoil in fear. Our boarding parties carry incendiary weapons designed to burn through biological barriers. Our computer viruses are programmed to attack and corrupt neural networks. Our nanite weapons can dissolve organic hulls at the molecular level. Vice Admiral Oh Yon-sik watched from his command ship as the human fleet demonstrated the full scope of their anti-biological capabilities. The aliens were learning that every human tactical doctrine had been developed with organic enemies in mind, and there was no defense against weapons designed specifically to counter their technology. Signal to all ships, Oh Yon-sik commanded. Deploy nanite torpedoes against all remaining alien vessels. Show them what 200 years of preparation can accomplish. The torpedoes streaked through space carrying their cargo of microscopic death toward the surviving Veltari bioships. When they detonated, the nanites spread through space like metallic clouds and began eating through organic hulls with frightening efficiency. Vorth watched helplessly as his remaining ships began to dissolve from the outside in. The human nanites were consuming everything biological they encountered, and there was no way to stop them once they made contact with a bioship's hull. His empire's greatest technological achievements were being reduced to cosmic dust by human weapons. Emergency. Transmission to Veltari High Command. Vorth managed to send through his pod's limited communication system. Human species possesses advanced anti-biological warfare capabilities. Repeat, humans are specifically equipped to destroy organic technology. Do not engage. Do not engage. But Vorth's warning would never reach his home worlds, because Captain Han Ji-woo's stealth destroyer had been systematically hunting down and destroying every alien communication relay in the system. The humans were ensuring that no word of their capabilities would escape to warn the rest of the Veltari Empire. Dr. Lim Hai Rin's broadcast continued as she revealed more details about human military preparation. Human shipyards have produced over 1,000 vessels designed specifically for warfare against biological enemies. Every crew member has trained extensively in anti-organic combat techniques. Every weapon has been tested and refined for maximum effectiveness against living targets. She smiled as she delivered the final piece of information that would crush any remaining alien hope of victory. The fleet you are currently fighting represents only the first wave of human military response. Additional fleets are already being mobilized and will arrive within 72 hours if needed. Kang Min-woo felt his dreadnought shudder as the viral nanites were deployed against the alien command ship. Through his sensors, he watched the massive bioship convulse as billions of microscopic machines attacked its neural systems simultaneously. Within minutes, the creature that had been a mighty warship was reduced to a lifeless hulk drifting through space. Target destroyed, reported his weapons officer with satisfaction. All biological functions have ceased, and the vessel is confirmed dead. The systematic destruction of the Veltari fleet continued as human ships demonstrated weapon after weapon designed specifically to kill organic technology: plasma torches that burned through biological armor, acid projectors that dissolved, living hulls, computer viruses that corrupted neural networks beyond any hope of repair. High Commander Vorth realized that his empire had made the worst possible choice when they decided to threaten humanity. Not only were these humans specifically equipped to fight organic technology, but they had clearly been hoping for exactly this type of conflict to test their weapons. They wanted us to attack, Vorth said to himself as the truth became clear. They have been waiting for someone like us to threaten them so they could demonstrate what their weapons could do. The last few surviving Veltari ships tried desperately to escape the solar system but found their organic, faster-than-light drives had been systematically destroyed by human precision strikes. They were trapped with no hope of retreat and facing an enemy that had spent centuries preparing to kill them. Vice Admiral O. Yunsik opened a communication channel to the alien survivors and delivered humanity's final message. You ignored our warning and chose to threaten our worlds. Now you will serve as an example to any other species that might consider making the same mistake. The human fleet moved in for the final phase of the battle with mechanical precision that spoke of extensive training and careful planning. Every captain knew their role, and every crew member understood that the complete destruction of the alien fleet was not just military necessity, but a message to the galaxy about what happened when someone threatened humanity. Dr. Lim Hai-Rin concluded her broadcast with words that would haunt any alien species that might intercept the transmission. Human weapons technology has been developed specifically to counter and destroy biological spacecraft and organic weapons systems. Any species using such technology should consider this demonstration a warning about the consequences of threatening human space. The battle was nearly over, and the Veltari Empire was learning too late that humanity was not the primitive species they had assumed. Instead, they had attacked the one civilization in the galaxy that was perfectly equipped to destroy them. Fleet Admiral Ryu Sung-min stood on the observation deck of the super dreadnought Absolute and watched the final Veltari bioships die under the concentrated fire of the human fleet. Only 12 alien vessels remained out of the original 200, and they were trapped in the solar system with no hope of escape or rescue. Sir, we are receiving surrender offers from the remaining alien ships, reported Captain Song Yunbi as she approached with a datapad containing the intercepted transmissions. They are offering tribute and technological exchanges in return for safe passage out of the system. Ryu Sung-min took the pad and read the desperate alien messages with cold eyes. The Veltari commanders were promising to share their biotechnology and provide information about other civilizations in the galaxy if humanity would allow them to retreat. They had finally realized the magnitude of their mistake. Signal to all human ships, the Fleet Admiral commanded. Ignore all surrender offers and continue firing until every alien vessel is destroyed. There will be no survivors and no witnesses to warn their empire about our capabilities. Song Yunbi nodded and returned to her station to relay the orders. She understood the strategic logic behind the Admiral's decision, even though part of her felt uncomfortable about denying quarter to a defeated enemy. The aliens had threatened humanity's existence, and now they would pay the ultimate price for that choice. High Commander Vorth listened from his escape pod as his remaining ships begged for mercy that would never come. The humans were systematically destroying every Veltari vessel regardless of whether they were still fighting or trying to surrender. This was not warfare, as the Empire understood it, but something far more brutal and final. They mean to kill us all, Vorth said to himself, as he watched another bioship die under human railgun fire. They will not allow even one ship to escape and report what happened here. The realization filled him with a terror deeper than anything he had ever experienced. His empire controlled 847 worlds, but they had no idea what was coming for them. The humans were not content to simply defend their territory. They were preparing to go on the offensive. Commander Park In-ho stood in the briefing room of the assault carrier Vengeance and studied the holographic display, showing Veltari star charts recovered from captured alien data cores. The information showed the locations of every world in the enemy empire and would serve as the foundation for humanity's next phase of operations. Our new mission parameters are clear. Park In-ho addressed the assembled ship captains and marine commanders. We are to follow the alien fleet's course back to their home territory and begin systematic elimination of all Veltari military assets and leadership. The officers listened with grim attention as Park In-ho outlined humanity's strategic objectives. This would not be a war of conquest or occupation, but something far more decisive. The Veltari Empire had threatened human worlds, and now their Entire civilization would be dismantled as a warning to other potential enemies. "How many ships will we have for the offensive operations?" asked Captain Lee Hai-wan as she reviewed the tactical data on her personal display. 500 vessels, specifically configured for deep space operations against organic technology, Park In-ho replied. "Each ship carries the most advanced anti-biological weapons our scientists can produce. We estimate it will take 18 months to neutralize all major Veltari military installations. The last alien bioship died as human torpedoes filled with nanites reduced it to dissolving organic matter floating in space. The creature that had served as a warship for centuries screamed once through subspace frequencies before falling silent forever. The battle for Earth was over, and humanity had achieved total victory." Fleet Admiral Ryu Sung-min activated the fleet communication system to address all human ships simultaneously. His words would be recorded and transmitted throughout human space as proof that the species was ready to take its place among the galactic powers through strength rather than diplomacy. "Today we have demonstrated why humanity must never be threatened," Ryu Sung-min began, as images of the destroyed alien fleet filled display screens throughout the human armada. "The Veltari Empire believed they could intimidate us into surrender, because they had conquered 847 other worlds." He paused to let his words sink in before continuing with the same cold precision that had characterized the entire battle. "They discovered that humanity is different from every other species they had encountered. We do not fight to defend. We do not fight to survive. We fight to ensure that our enemies can never threaten us again." Captain Song Yun-bi felt a chill run down her spine as she listened to the fleet admiral's words. She had served in the human military for 15 years, but had never heard such absolute determination to destroy an enemy completely. This was humanity revealing its true nature to the galaxy. "The alien fleet that came to destroy our worlds has been eliminated completely," Ryu Sung-min continued. "No ship escaped to warn their empire about our capabilities. No survivor remains to describe our weapons or tactics. As far as the Veltari know, their invasion force simply vanished into the void." The fleet admiral's next words would become legendary in human military history and would be quoted by commanders for generations to come. "But our response to their aggression is just beginning. Commander Park In-ho will lead our expansion fleet to follow the aliens' course back to their home territory." Park In-ho felt the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders as every human ship in the system received their new orders. The fleet that had just destroyed the Veltari invasion would now become the spearhead of humanity's first interstellar offensive campaign. "Our objective is simple," Ryu Sung-min announced. "We will locate and destroy every Veltari military installation in their empire. We will eliminate their leadership and dismantle their government. We will ensure that they can never again threaten any other species in the galaxy." The human fleet began to reorganize itself for the long journey to alien space as automated systems processed the captured star charts and calculated hyperspace routes. 500 warships would carry humanity's message to the Veltari Empire, and that message would be written in fire and destruction. "Some may question whether such total warfare is necessary," the fleet admiral acknowledged as he concluded his address. "But we have learned from human history that half measures against aggressive enemies only lead to future conflicts. When someone threatens our existence, we respond by ensuring they can never threaten anyone again." High Commander Vorth's escape pod drifted alone through space as the human fleet prepared to depart for his home worlds. He was the only surviving witness to the battle, and he knew that no one in the Empire would believe his reports about human military capabilities until it was far too late to matter. "Computer activate emergency beacon and transmit final report to Veltari High Command," Vorth ordered his pod's limited artificial intelligence. "Warning! No Veltari communication relays detected within transmission range," the computer replied. "Human forces appear to have systematically destroyed all Empire assets in this system." Vorth closed his eyes and accepted that he would die, alone in space while his Empire remained ignorant of the storm that was coming for them. The humans had planned their response with such thoroughness that even his final warning would never reach home. The human expansion fleet activated their hyperspace drives and vanished from the solar system in flashes of twisted space-time. They carried with them the most advanced weapons humanity had ever created, and the absolute determination to use them without mercy or hesitation. Behind them, Earth continued its rotation through space, as if nothing had changed, but the people on its surface knew that their species had crossed a threshold. Humanity was no longer hiding among the stars hoping to avoid contact with hostile aliens. They were actively hunting down and destroying any species that dared to threaten them. The warning broadcast that Admiral Lee Tae-ho had sent to the Veltari Empire continued to transmit on automated relays throughout human space. Its message was simple and would soon be proven absolutely accurate. Human warships are an unyielding force. This was your only warning. Captain Song Yun-bi stood at her station and watched the stars through the main display as her ship prepared to jump to hyperspace. In 18 months, the Veltari Empire would be nothing but cosmic debris, and the galaxy would know that humanity had arrived as a major power through the simple expedient of being too dangerous to threaten. The aliens had ignored the warning, and now they would pay the price for that mistake with their entire civilization.